Hi there guys, I hope you have had a good day. So, November 28th, Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. Imagine what would have happened if this fight happened in their primes, but ultimately that's not happening now. They are both at the same stage of life and their careers, their respective careers, but ultimately this fight is still going to be a cracker. I know it's an exhibition, but you cannot see this being an exhibition. Ultimately someone's going to land a punch, a big punch, maybe Mike Tyson, maybe Roy Jones, and it's really going to annoy the other one. They're going to want to get their own back. They're fighters after all, competitors. That is what they have done throughout their whole careers. They know how to fight. They don't know how to have an exhibition. That is why this one will catch fire at some point. From then on, it's going to be a fight. Now, obviously we have seen the shape of both of them on Instagram, on Twitter, on the social media, across the board. They both look in incredible condition. Mike Tyson looks brilliant for what, 54? Roy Jones, 51. Incredible. And the speed, the movement they still have, they've clearly stayed in shape and stayed around boxing. Definitely Roy Jones, I'd say more so than Mike Tyson. But obviously they're not going to have the same kind of attributes as they did during their careers. They're there, but maybe a little bit more rusty at the moment. They can blow off some of the rust, but the same kind of movement, the reflexes won't be there. You cannot expect them to be. But that is why they are fighting one another, and not a top level opponent in their respected weight class of today. But ultimately you would have to say, I think that Roy Jones would easily dominate that light heavyweight division because he was just so good. I don't believe that anyone in that light heavyweight division would beat a prime Roy Jones. And I think that in the case of Mike Tyson, I think that really size would be the only thing that would beat him. Someone a similar size to him is going to really struggle against his speed, his movement, his power, all of that. So ultimately they both would have done extremely well if they were in this era, but they're not, and they are part of their own era. Now, obviously we can see all of these videos online, and they look good on the pads, they look good on the bag, and all of that, but it's very different doing that than getting in the ring and having a fight. You see fighters coming back and they say, I'm faster than ever, my times are better than ever, I feel better than I ever did, even when I was like 25. But you see them get into the ring and everything is different. Their timing is off and ultimately they can't do the things they were able to do once before. And that's because they don't adjust their style, because a style based on reflexes and movement, similar to the one of Roy Jones, that style does not age well. Look at David Haye recently. Went in there trying to do the same things he could do when he was 30 years old. But ultimately things have changed. So these fighters need to adapt to their styles as they get older. Oscar De La Hoya is one. He's saying that he's going to come back, but he cannot come back and do the same things he'd done during his career. He needs to adjust his style. Ultimately, what he needs to do is adopt a different style using positioning, timing, holding the gloves up high to catch shots, because ultimately he's not going to be able to avoid shots like he could during his career because the reflexes just aren't there. They aren't what they were. He still has good speed and good power, but he needs to use the fundamentals. The things he probably learnt first in boxing. Go back to basics, the positioning, the movement, the timing, the angles that you can create. Those are the things that will benefit a fighter who has gotten older. They cannot just go back and do the things they could do before because that's not there anymore. So in this fight between Roy Jones and Mike Tyson, I think they will go back to basics. I think they will do what they've done during their careers, but that's okay because they are fighting each other, the similar age. Oscar De La Hoya is going back and fighting fighters who are 25, 30, 32, 33. He's fighting those kind of guys. And ultimately, by doing that, he's giving up a huge age advantage to his opponent. And it's not all about age, it's about what you've been through during your career. It's about all of the knockdowns, the knockouts, the weight drains, and all of that. That is what takes it away from a fighter. Because ultimately, if you think the punishment the body has to go through in order to get down to weight, for a fight. Mike Tyson never had to do that, but he has suffered through some big fights, some tough losses as well. And that does take a toll on the fighter. Many people were saying that Mike Tyson has gone punchy for that interview that he done on Good Morning Britain. I don't think so. I think there was something else involved there. I don't think it was that. I've heard Mike Tyson talk before and after that, and he's completely coherent and everything. So it's not that. There was something else involved, and I don't know what it is. But ultimately, Mike Tyson, he's perfectly fine. And Roy Jones is as well. They both speak well, they both are still very knowledgeable. Mike Tyson even has a podcast and he frequently talks on there, and he's fine. So these guys are perfectly fine. and they are both in great condition preparing for this fight. Obviously, they are both taking it seriously because they were probably going to fight at one point. Maybe, it was a possibility because obviously Roy Jones jumped up to heavyweight to fight John Ruiz, won the WBA world title. Mike Tyson was still around then. There was a possibility that they could have fought then, but Roy Jones went back down to fight Antonio Tarver. So ultimately that fight was kind of missed at that point, but it's coming back around now. So it's not like a light heavyweight against a heavyweight. Roy Jones was actually being considered to fight Mike Tyson. The fight just didn't materialize back in the day. And ultimately at that point, Mike Tyson was no longer in his prime. But after Roy Jones had drained himself to get back down to light heavyweight, he was no longer the same fighter. And it was that weight drain, in my opinion, that cost Roy Jones, because he went up to heavyweight, then some 6 or 7, maybe 8 months after that, he was back down to light heavyweight. And the weight cut, then making weight as well, then the fight itself, that is what took a toll on Roy Jones. It's surprising what a toll that can take on the body. And it is those kind of things that really age a fighter. But that doesn't matter in this fight because they are both at that same point. They've both had tough experiences. They've both had extremely good fights. They've had tough fights. They've had highs, they've had lows throughout their careers. So that is why this one is intriguing. I'm very excited for this fight. Yes, it's an exhibition, but is it going to be an exhibition? Can Mike Tyson fight in an exhibition? Can Roy Jones fight in an exhibition? The egos of both of them, that doesn't gel for an exhibition at all. No way. This fight will catch fire at some point, and when it does, there is no going back. These guys are in great condition in preparation for this fight. Mike Tyson, incredible. Roy Jones, incredible. The speed, the movement, the power is there in abundance. Not what it was, but obviously considering where they are, it's brilliant. And let's be real, we are all going to watch anyway. I mean, Roy Jones versus Mike Tyson, incredible. Yes, it's an exhibition, but we don't really care about any of that. We're going to watch this fight regardless of what it is, because it's Mike Tyson, it's Roy Jones Jr. What they have done during their careers and what they have done since, we're just going to watch anyway, because we've seen Mike Tyson on the pads, we've seen Roy Jones on the pads. They are taking this seriously, and we can expect nothing else than that, than for them to get in there and have a fight. Yes, exhibition, but that's what it's labelled. Underneath, I believe it's something else. They both are talking about knockouts, they both are talking about hurting one another, so yes, it's labelled one thing, but ultimately, when that first bell goes and one punch lands, then the egos will take over. Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.